The latest Sussex controversy begins with something that looks simple. Meghan Markle released a set of summer photographs. But as so often with Harry and Meghan, the photographs are not the whole story. The timing, the framing, the people shown, the people not shown, and the emotional locations connected to the images all matter. According to critics, this was not a casual family photo dump. It was a deliberate piece of image management, designed to place Meghan, Harry, Archie, and Lilibet back at the center of the royal conversation at exactly the moment attention was moving elsewhere. The timing is the first clue. Meghan released the images on a Thursday, just before the weekly magazines would be preparing their Friday coverage. That matters because it gives editors a ready-made visual story to carry into the weekend. It also means the photos can push other royal stories out of the frame. At the same time, the royal conversation was focused on Prince George's 13th birthday, on the Wales family, and on the King and Queen appearing at the Commonwealth Games opening ceremony in Glasgow.
Now, she dropped these images on a Thursday because the weekly magazines go to press on a Friday afternoon. So what she managed to do? Push out all of the other coverage and dominate things again. But she's also released the images when everyone is celebrating Prince George's birthday. And I spoke to Robert Jobson.
Then Meghan's pictures landed, and suddenly the conversation shifted back to the Sussexes. Critics argue that this was not an accident, it was classic media timing. That kind of timing is not difficult to understand. A Thursday release gives the story just enough time to spread across digital platforms, then move into legacy outlets, weekend discussions, celebrity pages, and royal columns. It creates a wave. Meghan has been inside the media world long enough to know this. She understands that a photo set is not only a photo set, it is a package of angles. Editors can discuss the children. They can discuss Diana. They can discuss Meghan's clothes. They can discuss Harry's family visit. They can discuss whether the Sussexes are happy. They can discuss whether the children look older. One release becomes many stories. That is why critics read the timing as strategic rather than spontaneous. It also mattered because the official royal family was having a relatively clean week of its own. Prince George's birthday placed attention on the future. William, Catherine, and the boy who will one day become king. The Commonwealth Games appearance placed attention on Charles and Camilla doing the public work of Monarchy. Those are two different royal tracks, one future-facing and one present-day. Meghan's photo release cut across both. Instead of the conversation staying with George's milestone or the King and Queen's public duty, the media had a new Sussex puzzle to decode. That is exactly why critics believe the release was designed to interrupt. The photo set reportedly included images from a trip to Portugal, backs of children's heads, Meghan from behind, family travel moments, and most controversially, an image appearing to show Harry, Archie, and Lilibet walking at Althorpe with flowers. Because Althorpe is the Spencer family estate where Princess Diana is buried, many observers understood the image as a glimpse of a private family visit to Diana's resting place. That is where the reaction became especially intense. A summer holiday photograph can be debated.
Robert Jobson, last night, Meghan Markle released some pictures, of course she did, of their summer. And she just can't help herself, can she? Anything to get attention.
It wasn't really a surprise, was it? But the only thing is, of course, they demand their print.
A pool image can be criticised, but a photo connected to Diana's grave touches a much deeper nerve. The criticism is not that Harry has no right to bring his children to Althorpe. Of course he has that right. Diana was his mother, Archie and Lilibet are her grandchildren. Introducing them to that part of their family history could be a meaningful private act. The issue is publication. If the visit was sacred, why share it? If the moment was about remembrance, why make it part of an Instagram sequence? If privacy is the principle, why turn a walk toward Diana's burial place into a public-facing image? That question sits at the center of the backlash. This is why Meghan's privacy argument keeps collapsing under the weight of her own choices. For weeks, According to the criticism discussed in the source, Meghan's side had been presenting her as a careful mother who would not release photographs of Archie and Lilibet with King Charles because she wanted to protect the children. Yet, here were images of the children again, partly hidden but still clearly used, and one image apparently connected to one of the most emotionally private places in Harry's family story. The contradiction is hard to ignore. Meghan does not show everything, but she shows enough. She protects the faces, but not the narrative. The back-of-head strategy is part of the problem. It is often presented as a compromise. The public gets a glimpse, but the children retain privacy. In practice, critics argue, it creates more fascination. It turns Archie and Lilibet into mysteries. The public is invited to look, compare, speculate, and decode. That is not the same as keeping children private. True privacy would mean not using the children at all. The Sussex version is controlled visibility. It gives the couple the emotional benefit of family imagery while preserving the claim that they are not really exposing the children. The image of Lilibet reportedly in a swimsuit created a further argument. Meghan and Harry have spoken about the dangers of social media, online harm, digital safety, and the need to protect children from dangerous platforms and predatory behavior.
A picture's been announced. It's almost, isn't it, that she can't cope with other people getting publicity. And also, it all coincided with a big stage-managed event, which, like it or loathe it, the King had organised a slightly odd coming out of a TARDIS.
Critics therefore asked why a parent who lectures the world on digital risk would place a young child in swimwear on a public account, followed and discussed globally. The criticism is not that ordinary parents never share family moments. The criticism is that Meghan and Harry have built part of their public moral platform around the dangers of the online world. If that danger is as serious as they say, then their own standards should be higher, not lower. That is why the censorship and online safety messaging feels hollow to many people. If Harry and Meghan truly believe social media platforms are unsafe for children, then the most obvious first step is not to place their own children's images into that system for global consumption. If the problem is algorithms, predators, and unhealthy attention, then public celebrity accounts should be treated with extreme caution. Instead, critics see Harry and Meghan using online danger as a campaigning subject, while also using the children for attention when it benefits the Sussex brand. That contradiction weakens the message. Robert Jobson, a veteran royal author and reporter, was brought into the discussion because he has long experience in royal circles and because he was particularly blunt about the photo release. His interpretation was that Meghan cannot bear other royals receiving attention without trying to reclaim the spotlight. In his view, the images landing around Prince George's birthday and around official royal events was telling. It suggested jealousy, or at least a strong desire to redirect the coverage. Whether one accepts that motive or not, the optics work against Meghan. Once again, a Wales family moment was followed almost immediately by Sussex imagery. That pattern has become familiar enough that people now anticipate it. Catherine appears and Meghan posts, George receives attention and Archie appears. William is praised and Harry gives an interview or appears in a separate story. Charles and Camilla take part in an official event and the Sussexes drop something intimate or emotionally loaded.
That putting a child in a swimsuit on the world stage, I find that absolutely disgraceful, that the woman who is preaching to us to tell us how to raise our children is behaving in that way. But do you even buy this censorship stuff her and Harry are pushing?
Well, I mean, I think any parent would be wary about putting their pictures of their kids, young kids as well, on the internet, but given the predators and evil people that are out there. But I think it was a bit of a surprise for them to do.
Any one instance could be coincidence, but repeated coincidences become a pattern in public perception. That is why the timing of this photo release generated so much suspicion. The Prince George comparison is particularly sensitive. Kensington Palace marked George's 13th birthday with a controlled public image and a short family video showing the future king at a major childhood milestone. George is not just a celebrity child. He is second in line to the throne after William, and the public has a legitimate interest in seeing him grow up. William and Catherine's approach is measured. A birthday photograph, a carefully chosen clip, public appearances at major events, and then privacy again. Meghan's release, by contrast, appeared to place Archie back into the conversation just as George was being discussed. That made the Sussex pictures feel reactive rather than natural. The image of Archie reportedly in or near a cockpit added to that perception. Prince George had recently been shown in contexts that invited discussion of his growth, interests, and future. Then Archie appeared in a way that some commentators read as a parallel. Children love cockpits, uniforms, pilots, and planes, so one should not make too much of the image by itself. But the timing made the comparison unavoidable. The Sussexes may have intended a sweet family memory. Critics saw a counter-programming exercise. The deeper problem is that Archie and Lilibet are being placed in a competition they did not choose. George's public role is constitutional. He is being prepared slowly and carefully for a future that belongs to the monarchy. Archie and Lilibet are being raised outside the working royal system in California by parents who left official duty. Yet the Sussexes continue to use prince and princess titles, continue to connect the children to royal stories, and continue to release images at moments that invite comparison. That is unfair to the children. It makes their childhood part of a rivalry between adults. This is where Harry and Meghan's privacy argument becomes even more difficult. If the children are private citizens,
Magazines go to press on a Friday, don't they? So again, it's another calculated move to try and get blanket magazine coverage.
Well, they were never going to really use this whole trip to Portugal and then on to the UK. It was always going to be used as sort of brand boosting. She knows the value of being close to the royal family. She knows the value of photographs of her kids, Prince and Princess Archie and Lilibet. So, and even if you're not showing a lot of them, just the backs of their heads, it's going to get awareness in the legacy media. It's going to get awareness online.
let them be private. If they are prince and princess, then their titles will always carry public curiosity. If their faces are hidden, speculation grows. If they are shown only from behind, people wonder what is being concealed or teased. If they appear at emotionally charged moments, the public reads meaning into the image. The Sussexes cannot control every interpretation once the photographs are released. That is why restraint is the only truly protective strategy. The Althorp image is more serious because it involves Diana's memory. Princess Diana's grave is not open to the public. It is located on a small island in the Oval Lake at Althorp, a setting chosen to create distance and protection. That seclusion matters because Diana's life and death were shaped by relentless public attention. For critics, to share an image connected to that place is to misunderstand the very lesson of Diana's story. Harry has often spoken about the trauma of cameras and intrusion around his mother. That makes it more difficult to understand why an image connected to her resting place would be shared in a public photo set. There is also the question of future use. Harry and Meghan's first Netflix documentary relied heavily on their private archive, phone footage, personal videos, photographs, and intimate moments that only they could provide. If speculation about a future Diana documentary around the anniversary of her death proves true, any private footage from Althorp or connected family moments could become extremely valuable. That does not mean the photos were definitely taken for a future production, but the possibility is why people are uneasy. In the Sussex media world, private memories have repeatedly become public assets. This is the modern loophole in documentary culture. There does not need to be a camera crew present for material to become commercial later. A phone can capture images and video quietly. Later, those images can be described as personal footage. The couple can say they were simply recording family memories. But once those memories are used in a documentary, interview, or brand narrative, the distinction becomes thin.
People talk about going on different paths. I think William and Catherine, if you saw them at Wimbledon and the way that it was all, they're almost on a different level. They're completely away from it. The best way they're dealing with the whole Harry circus, and even the mistakes that have been made, possibly by the king, I think they're trying to just completely be separate from it in every way. And at the moment, I think that's working. A father can do what he likes when it comes to a son and his grandkids, and I think the king is making decisions, being affected by probably the fact that he knows he's.
That is why critics look at the Althorp photo and wonder whether they are seeing a family moment or the early gathering of future content. The Diana cosplay discussion intensified the reaction. Meghan has been repeatedly accused by critics of echoing Diana's clothing, poses, colours and symbolism. In this case, some pointed to Meghan's swimsuit and argued that it resembled a look associated with Diana. A single fashion resemblance can be coincidence. But royal watchers do not see this as a single resemblance. They see years of visual echoes. So when Meghan appears in another image that can be connected to Diana, especially in a photo set tied to Althorp, people assume intention. The comparison may be unfair in a narrow sense, but Meghan's own history of symbolic image making makes it hard for critics to dismiss. The deeper discomfort is that Diana is not an aesthetic. Diana is Harry's mother and William's mother. Her memory belongs to her sons and her family, but it also sits in the public imagination because her life became so public. For William, the lesson of Diana appears to be restraint. He speaks of her when appropriate, protects his grief, and rarely turns her memory into content. For Harry, Diana has become central to his public identity. His interviews, his arguments about the press, his emotional narrative, and now, critics fear his children's public imagery. That difference between the brothers is one of the deepest fractures in the royal story. If William believes Althorp and Diana's grave should remain beyond publicity, then this image would likely feel like a violation of a family boundary. He is unlikely to say so publicly. William's strategy has been to keep away from the Sussex circus as much as possible, but silence does not equal indifference. The future king is watching a private family wound become part of the Sussex communication machine again and again. That will not make reconciliation easier.
At the moment are different to what the late Queen Elizabeth ruled on, and she ruled on it very clearly at the Sandringham Summit. You can't be in and half out. The reason she ruled on it in that way, I think, basically is because she knew of the art of survival. She saw after the abdication crisis when she was just 10 in 1936, she knew from everything she saw, everything that her mother and father taught her, everything that she saw in her long 70-year reign, that you can't monetize it in that way. You can't be.
Robert Jobson's comments on William are important here. He argued that William and Catherine are operating on a different level now, deliberately separate from Harry and Meghan's drama. Their appearances at events such as Wimbledon show a couple focused on their own public path. Rather than answering every Sussex move, they build their own monarchy in parallel. Calm, disciplined, visible at the right moments, and removed from the noise. That may be the strongest response available. If William engages, the Sussex story absorbs him. If he stays separate, he shows the public that the future monarchy is not dependent on Harry's drama. Jobson's view is that there will still be a crown for William, precisely because William is keeping clear. The worry among some royal watchers is that King Charles's softer approach may blur the boundaries the late Queen Elizabeth set so clearly. Charles is a father and a grandfather. He is also living with cancer. And that reality may make him more conscious of time, regret, and family contact. He may not want confrontation. He may want to see Harry's children. Those motives are understandable. But the monarchy is not only a family, it is an institution. If Charles allows too much ambiguity around Harry and Meghan, William may inherit a mess. This is where the late Queen's Sandringham decision remains central. Elizabeth II understood survival. She had seen the abdication crisis from childhood. She had watched the damage caused when personal desire and royal duty collided. Her conclusion was clear. There could be no half-in, half-out arrangement. Harry and Meghan could not make money from royal status in California while occasionally returning to perform selected royal functions or borrow royal prestige. They had to choose. That line protected the crown because it separated duty from commerce. Jobson suggested that line may now feel as if it is being worn down, not necessarily through a formal reversal, but through soft exceptions, private meetings, public ambiguity, photo opportunities, family visits, and media stories of thawing relations.
She was right about that. Seems to be being worn down at the moment. I mean, and I think it's a genuine error because. But the one thing that is clear, and I think by keeping separate with William, keeping on a different trajectory really, is that when he is king, there'll be none of this for Harry and Meghan. There'll be no way back into the fold. And I think really, in all honesty, this has probably got a lot to do with money. Where there's a will, there's a family member, and I'm sure that
the danger is not that Harry and Meghan are suddenly back as working royals. The danger is that the public begins to see them as royal enough when it benefits them and private enough when accountability arrives. That is exactly the grey area the late Queen rejected. Money also sits beneath the story. Jobson hinted that much of this may be connected to future financial positioning and the reality of Charles's age and health. It would be wrong to turn that into a hard accusation without evidence, but the strategic logic is obvious. As long as Charles is king, Harry has a father on the throne. Once William becomes king, Harry is dealing with a brother who appears far less forgiving. If Harry and Meghan want any renewed royal closeness, any future inheritance discussions, any restored access, or any public sense that they are still part of the fold, now is the window. Under King William, that window may close completely. That is why Harry's attempts to woo his brother back are unlikely to succeed, according to this line of analysis. William has little incentive to restore a relationship that has repeatedly damaged his wife, his father, his grandmother, and the institution he will inherit. He may eventually tolerate private peace for the sake of family occasions, funerals, or large national moments. But a true restoration of trust is another matter. Trust requires silence, restraint, consistency, and time. The Sussexes have not yet shown enough of any of those things. The Highgrove meeting then becomes the second major theme. Some people online have questioned whether Meghan and the children really went to Britain and whether the reported meeting with King Charles actually happened. Jobson was emphatic that it did. He said he had sourced it through 3 independent and highly reliable sources, and he dismissed the speculation that the meeting was fabricated. In his view, people may dislike the story, doubt palace messaging, or distrust the Sussexes, but that does not change the fact that the meeting took place. That matters because it introduces a difference between skepticism and denial.
Allegedly did to see the king at Highgrove.
No, they definitely did, Lauren. I mean, there's a lot of nonsense about this. They definitely went to Highgrove. I have no doubt about it whatsoever. I've sourced it on. Look, I've been doing this for 35 years, 37 years. I broke the story that Charles was to marry Camilla before anybody knew about it, one scoop a year. I've sourced it now with 3 different independent sources. I had absolutely no doubt whatsoever that meeting happened. I think what's going on online is utterly stupid, to be honest. Based upon what? Based upon people thinking they know. I actually do know from the people I've spoken. I wasn't there.
It is reasonable for the public to question narratives that are spun too neatly. It is reasonable to ask who benefits from a story, why certain details appear, and whether sources are briefing with an agenda. But if a reporter with decades of royal experience says multiple independent sources confirmed the meeting, then the argument shifts. The real question becomes not whether the meeting happened, but what it meant, who knew, how it was arranged, and whether any trust was rebuilt. Jobson was clear that no one outside the room knows exactly what was said. That is important. In previous Sussex-related stories, details have often leaked quickly. In this case, according to him, the significant thing is that the details have not leaked. That suggests both sides understood the stakes. If either side leaks the private substance of the meeting, it may be the final chance gone. A father can meet his son. a grandfather can see his grandchildren. But if the conversation becomes another magazine story or documentary paragraph, then the palace will learn again that privacy cannot be trusted. The absence of detailed leaks is probably the most hopeful part of the whole Highgrove story. It suggests that, at least for now, the people involved understood the meeting had to remain contained. But it also creates a strange tension. The meeting can be private in substance while still public in existence. The palace can acknowledge that it happened, reporters can confirm that it happened. Sussex-friendly outlets can hint at emotional texture, and yet no one can say what was actually discussed. For a normal family, that would be reasonable. For this family, it creates endless speculation because private information has so often been used before. The most likely subject, Jobson suggested, was the children. That makes sense. In an awkward family meeting where deeper conflicts remain unresolved, children provide safer ground. People can ask how they are doing, talk about school, personalities, routines, and family life without immediately reopening every wound. Charles may have wanted to see Archie and Lilibet, not negotiate Megxit.
This ridiculous speculation.
So with the meeting, how many people would have had to have known about
I
this
don't know what
meeting?
went on in the meeting, and nor does anybody. That's the whole point. In other meetings, I've had the information leaked out. On this meeting, the way that it was arranged, the people that were there, there's been no leak on it. And that's the whole point, really, because they've been very aware that if it leaked from either side, and we await leaks, I think the stuff that was said to have leaked in the People was a little bit of a push to say it was a leak about the meeting. Nothing about the detail of this meeting has been leaked.
Meghan and Camilla being present also shaped the atmosphere. This was not two men sitting alone to settle the future of the monarchy. It was more likely a controlled family encounter. The role of Queen Camilla in that meeting is especially interesting. Jobson suggested that her presence may have protected the king, perhaps even from himself. That is not necessarily hostile to Charles. It means Camilla may have been there to steady him emotionally and to ensure he did not offer assurances, promises, or signals that could later be interpreted too broadly. Charles may want peace. He may want to be kind. He may want to avoid regret. But a king cannot casually give guarantees to a son whose public and commercial life remains tied to royal access. Camilla's presence may have been a stabilizing factor. The public frustration, however, comes from how the meeting story was presented. Katie Nicholl had described a cloak and dagger style meeting with the suggestion that almost no one knew apart from the King, Harry, and Meghan, and that Camilla was called at the last minute. Jobson rejected that version as unrealistic. A meeting involving the monarch, the Queen, Harry, Meghan, and children at Highgrove cannot happen like a spontaneous family drop-in. The King has protection, the Queen has protection, Harry has security. Highgrove requires staff, private secretaries, aides, logistics teams, local police, and security services would all need some level of awareness or coordination. This matters because the public can accept privacy more easily than it can accept nonsense. People do not need to know every word spoken at Highgrove. They do not need to know what the children ate, what Charles said, or whether Meghan and Camilla exchanged polite small talk. But people do notice when a story is dressed up as if a monarch, a queen, 2 ex-working royals, and 2 children can simply appear at a protected estate with no planning. That theatrical version may make good television, but it does not make practical sense. Royal households are not run like ordinary homes. The more realistic version is still private, but it is not magical.
Situation where there's been issues in families, it's much easier to just talk about the 2 little kids that are running around causing trouble than issues that are clearly still not resolved. I mean, the fact that the Queen was there, I think personally, was to protect the King from himself or from giving guarantees on things that he would not necessarily want to do. So that's the point, I think. The fact that Meghan was there and the Queen was there.
A small number of senior people would know enough to make the logistics work. Security teams would coordinate movements. Staff would prepare the property, the Queen's office would know if Camilla was attending, Harry's side would need arrangements, local security considerations would exist. That does not mean the whole palace was briefed. It means the story had to pass through basic reality. When commentators pretend otherwise, they damage trust further because viewers feel they are being asked to accept a fairy tale. That is why the idea of a completely secret last-minute meeting is difficult to accept. Highgrove is not an ordinary house. The king is not an ordinary father inviting his son around for tea. We are talking about a head of state, protected principles, staff arrangements, transport, security corridors, and a location that may not have been fully active at the time. Even if the circle was kept tight, the meeting required planning. To say no one knew may sound romantic and dramatic, but it does not match how royal and security logistics work. This is where the public's hunger for transparency becomes complicated. A private family meeting cannot be fully transparent. The king has the right to see his grandchildren without publishing every detail. The public does not need a transcript of a conversation between a grandfather and young children. But the public also has reason to be tired of contradictory briefings. One day Harry is supposedly staying at Buckingham Palace. Then he is not. One source says no one knew about a meeting. Another explains that many people must have known at least enough to make it happen. Friendly outlets hint at Meghan's feelings. Palace sources say little. The result is not privacy, it is fog. The Buckingham Palace accommodation story is another example. According to Jobson, Harry was offered the possibility of staying at Buckingham Palace, but did not respond in time. If true, the palace may have avoided a major optics problem by accident. Imagine the same week Harry lost in his case involving the Daily Mail and associated newspapers, attacked the outcome as a whitewash, continued his broader fight against sections of the press.
Hopped in the car.
That's a matter for Katie Nicholl.
What I found so interesting was that it was ultimately the king who managed to pull off this 11th hour meeting, cloak and dagger. So I was told that no one knew about it apart from the king, Meghan and Harry. There was a call made from Highgrove because Camilla and the king spend their weekends often separately, which we'll talk about a little bit later on in the show. It's not as strange as it sounds. And the king called the queen and said, this meeting is going to happen. They're on their way.
Challenged aspects of the legal and security system, and then did all of that while staying free at Buckingham Palace, the taxpayer refurbished headquarters of the monarchy. The image would have been disastrous. That accommodation question is about more than convenience. A palace room is never just a room. It says access. It says acceptance. It says the institution is willing to shelter the person inside its walls. For Harry, staying at Buckingham Palace would have carried symbolic value far beyond a bed for the night. It would have made him look less like a private visitor and more like someone still entitled to the spaces of monarchy. That is why the palace had to be careful, and why Harry failing to respond may have spared everyone a major public relations problem. The optics matter, because Harry is no longer a working royal, yet he continues to challenge key pillars of British public life. He has fought the press, criticized legal outcomes, and sued over security decisions involving the state. A constitutional monarch is supposed to sit above politics and protect the stability of institutions such as the free press, the independent judiciary, and elected government. If the king's son is publicly attacking those systems while being housed at the symbolic center of monarchy, the contradiction becomes impossible to ignore. Palace aides may have been relieved that the arrangement did not happen. This also shows why Harry cannot be treated casually as just a son. He is a son, but he is also a public actor whose every move carries institutional meaning. If he stays at a palace, it suggests acceptance. If he receives royal security, it suggests status. If he appears with Charles, it suggests a thaw. If Meghan is photographed near the king, it strengthens her royal credibility. If Archie and Lilibet are brought into the story, it softens the public mood. The Sussexes understand this. The palace understands it too. That is why each gesture is so heavily managed. The photo release and the Highgrove meeting are therefore connected.
There are also security implications that Harry had his own team of security, and so would the king, who has protection with him 24/7. and so does the Queen. So to say there was just a quick phone call between father and son, get yourself here, is frankly preposterous. It's just nonsense. It just won't happen. We're not living in the world of ordinary people. We're living in a world of billionaires and heads of state. And if heads of state are having to involve their protection officers, you'd be damn sure that the security services would need to know about it, plus also the police of the area in near Highgrove and Tetbury, where
Both are about access and control. Meghan can release images that hint at private family connection while withholding faces. The palace can confirm a meeting happened while withholding details. Sussex-friendly media can describe emotional atmospheres without revealing substance. Royal reporters can insist the meeting happened while rejecting the more theatrical versions. The public is left trying to decode signals. In Monarchy, signals matter. But when signals replace clarity entirely, trust erodes. For William, the correct response may be distance. He does not need to answer every Sussex move. He does not need to compete with Meghan's Instagram posts. He does not need to correct every briefing. His strongest position is to continue building the future monarchy with Catherine and their children. When George's birthday is marked with restraint, when Catherine returns to public life with dignity, when William appears at national events without engaging in the Sussex drama, he draws a line between the future crown and the California story. That separation may be exactly what preserves the monarchy. This distance also protects the Wales children. If William allows every Sussex post to pull him into a response, George, Charlotte, and Louis become supporting characters in an endless family feud. By refusing to engage, he keeps their lives on a steadier path. George can be introduced to public life through birthdays, sporting events, royal traditions, and school milestones, not through comparison with Archie. Charlotte can grow into her role without being defined by Sussex drama. Louis can be allowed his personality without being turned into a weapon in the online wars. That is not only a media strategy, it is parenting. It is also monarchy building. William's future reign will depend on whether the public sees him as serious, stable, and clear-eyed. Every time he refuses to be dragged into Harry and Meghan's orbit, he strengthens that image. The contrast becomes obvious without him needing to say a word. One side releases carefully timed private images that create controversy. The other side releases controlled.
And the public
Well, they
hearing.
never said that. To be fair, Lauren, they said that it was offered, and it was offered, and he didn't come back to them. It was offered. He never came back to them. And frankly, if he'd stayed at Buckingham Palace in the week, I think they got away with one. A huge got away with it in a big way, the palace. Because if they did offer it to him, which we believe they did, because they said they did, and he didn't come back to them until it was too late. In the week that he lost to Daily Mail Associated Newspapers, so dramatically in a fight against freedom of the press, and then he just claimed that there had been a judge who had whitewashed the case, who's not only attacking the press, which is hugely important, free press to this country, the country he doesn't live in.
Official family moments, and then gets back to duty. That is the kind of contrast that settles over time. The risk for Charles is that personal kindness may be read as institutional weakness. A father can forgive privately, a king has to think about precedent. If Harry and Meghan are allowed to inch back into royal proximity while still using titles, children, Diana's memory, and private imagery for media value, then the late Queen's settlement becomes less clear. Charles may not intend that, he may simply want to avoid regret, but monarchy is built on perception. What the public sees matters as much as what the palace says. The next signs will be important. Watch whether Meghan continues releasing carefully timed family imagery when the Waleses receive attention. Watch whether People magazine or other friendly outlets keep receiving emotional details. Watch whether any future Diana project uses images or footage from private places such as Althorpe. Watch whether Harry continues trying to reconnect with Charles while failing to rebuild trust with William. Watch whether the palace holds the line on accommodation, security, and public photographs. And watch how William remains separate. His silence may be the clearest statement of all. In the end, this story is not about 12 photographs. It is about a method. Harry and Meghan claim privacy, then release controlled intimacy. They warn about social media, then use it to place their children in the narrative. They say they honor Diana, then allow her resting place to become part of a public image cycle. They seek family contact, then rely on media ecosystems that turn family contact into leverage. They want independence, but their strongest material remains royal proximity. That is why the criticism keeps returning. The public does not trust the gap between the words and the actions. The Highgrove meeting may have happened exactly as Robert Jobson says. Charles may have seen his grandchildren, Meghan may have been there, Camilla may have been present. The details may remain private, and perhaps they should.
This so-called Prince of England, as he calls himself, I don't know what's happened to Great Britain and Northern Ireland, United Kingdom and Northern Ireland, and other realms, but this Prince of England, who's a stay-at-home dad, as he describes himself, railing against the three pillars of our society: a free press, an independent judiciary, and an elected government. All things his father, the king, as sovereign, is supposed to protect in his role as a constitutional monarch. All of those things, from the head, from a guy that's just sleeping free at the headquarters of Buckingham Palace, that we, the taxpayer, have just paid nearly.
But the wider question is what that private contact becomes when placed beside public Sussex behaviour. If the Sussexes truly want trust restored, then every private moment must stay private. Every image must be chosen with restraint. Every leak must stop. Every royal symbol must be treated carefully. That is the only path back to credibility. For now, the contrast is stark. William and Catherine are moving forward on a disciplined path, presenting their children with measured care and keeping the Sussex drama at arm's length. Charles is trying to balance fatherhood, illness, monarchy, and regret. Harry and Meghan are still testing the boundaries of privacy, publicity, family, and status. The late Queen understood the danger of that boundary becoming blurred. William appears to understand it too. Whether Charles can hold the line while still being a father is the question. And every carefully timed photo, every disputed briefing, and every private meeting turned into a public guessing game makes that question harder to avoid.